Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about why your breathing sucks, showing you how to properly breathe while swimming. Take your hand, turn it into a fist, and punch me in the face with that subscribe and like button, please. If you're new to swimming, you're probably struggling with your breathing, and you're huffing and puffing, and you're complaining that I can't get from this end to the other end without just like gasping for air all the time. If you are used to working out in a gym, or say you're used to biking long distance or like running or jogging, then you're pretty healthy, right? You can keep it up for more than a minute, obviously. So when it comes to water, why do you always struggle then? The problem is not your stamina, obviously, because you're pretty healthy. So what is it? Well, usually most of my beginner students, they struggle with breathing. And when I talk about breathing, think of it like this way. You're good at basketball, you're good at hockey, you're good at golf, whatever. What do all of these activities have in common? Guess. They all take part on dry land. You're not really paying attention to your breathing, are you? When it comes to water, you really have to pay attention to your breathing. I would say that any dry land activity is like cooking. You can play around, you can jam with the ingredients, you don't really have to measure things. But when it comes to swimming or water activities, you really have to be precise. And it's kind of like baking. You cannot mess with the measurements when it comes to baking a cake or something. You have to be very precise with your proportions. So let's try doing one lap together. I want you to pay attention to my breathing, okay? I want you to pay attention to what happens or what goes on with this area of my face as I do my stroke, okay? So let's do it together. So what did you notice as I was breathing while doing 2 laps? The air that I breathe in is like whoop, big, a certain amount every time, okay? It's precise. Let's pretend it's this much. Every time I breathe in air, I'm breathing in a certain amount. It's not like this. It's not like that. No, it's not sporadic. Every time I inhale a certain amount of air every time. And it looks kind of like this. So if you're a newbie, your air intake probably looks like this. Sporadic, right? The proportions don't match. They're all over the place. And that's normal because you haven't spent enough time mastering your breathing. But this is what you have to be aware of every time. When you breathe in a certain amount of air every time, or else it will mess up your rhythm. Second thing you probably notice is that I was blowing consistent air out of my mouth and nose. Every swimming lesson starts with bubbles. And the reason why we teach bubbles is because bubbles are a good indicator of how the air is flowing out of your mouth as your face is in the water. A good swimmer would sound like every time they blow air out. Now, a rookie or a newbie would probably blow air like this. All over the place, sporadic. And like I said, when it comes to swimming, it's like baking a cake. You have to be precise with your measurements every time. You cannot mess with the proportions or it'll mess up with your swimming. So, if you're going to swim for very long distances, you have to make sure that each amount of air that you inhale and exhale is controlled and precise. I brought a measuring cup here in the water to illustrate what my breathing would look like. Let's pretend that the water is air and the air is water. So we're just reversing it, okay? Pretend that this cup represents my lungs, okay? The air that goes in and out. This is what my breathing would look like. If I inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. So what do you notice here? Every time I come up for air, I make sure that I get the maximum amount of air in my lungs, like this. Okay, you can see the water on the tip of the cup every time. And then when I exhale slowly and in a controlled manner. So you notice that the water that's trickling down from the cup is nice and even every time. This is what a lot of newbies struggle with when they're swimming for the first time. Because usually newbies, they just inhale whatever amount of air that they can. Because first of all, they're not controlling their strokes, they're not controlling the breathing. So as you can see, like the cup is not filled up to the brim every time. It's sporadic. And this is, if you do this for a long enough time, you're not going to be able to swim from there to there easily with these kind of measurements. Okay, so your breathing has to be measured precisely every time. Every time you inhale, it should be like this, very quick. Okay, it shouldn't be like this. No, that's too slow to breathe in, okay? It has to be quick every time. And every time you breathe in, it has to be to the full amount, or get to the fullest amount as possible every time. When you exhale, newbies tend to exhale sporadically like this, okay? And sometimes they don't exhale all of that air within their lungs, and then they fill it up again. So they're slowly, gradually, unconsciously filling up their lungs with a mixture of air and CO2, okay? So this is really not the way to go long term. As you can see, that this is not a good strategy to keep up whatever stroke that you're doing back and forth. As I breathe in, it has to be quick and up to the brim. And then when I exhale, it has to be nice and controlled all the way. I'm going to breathe and use this cup at the same time. So it would be like this. When I breathe in a large amount of air like this every time. Okay, nice and controlled, precise, filled up to the brim. And then when I exhale, it's nice and controlled when I exhale. It's very simple, but it's a good way of testing how you really breathe, because a lot of people don't really know how they're breathing in the water until they actually do this kind of exercise that I'm doing, okay? Pretty simple, but it's a very powerful analogy. Really good swimmers, they forget about all of this stuff. You know, it's just soldered into their brains automatically as they're swimming. They know that they have to take precise amounts of air every time, and when they release it, it's up to them how slow or how fast that they want to release it. Once you get really good, yeah, your VO2 max, as they call it, or your cup size will get much bigger and bigger, okay? That's the benefit of swimming. But at the same time, we all know that the exhaling part is always the same, okay? It always has to be controlled, like this. nice and controlled. A steady flow of water streaming down every time. But we can control the speed. If you are trying to do, like, for example, 5-arm pulls with your front crawl, then I would assume that your exhaling would look like this. Okay, you want to be controlled but slower. Okay, now if you're doing like sprints, like for example 1 or 2 arm front crawls, okay, then your breathing would look like this. Okay, nice and controlled but fast. Nice and controlled but fast. Do you see that? The water flowing down is controlled but faster compared to the, say, like a 5-arm or longer pull. You never want to be like this. Okay? This is what all you newbies that I see doing. They don't control the exhaling part of their breathing. So it looks like that. So pay attention to my breathing again now. Now that you understand this concept with the cup. So all I'm doing is just walking slowly along the bottom of the pool and just practicing this technique. Controlling the air that comes in and out much better than before. And you want to build that rhythm. However fast or slow that rhythm will be is up to you. So if I want to do 2-arm front crawls, it's a faster rhythm. Slow arm front crawls, it's a much slower rhythm. I hope this video has helped. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Join our Facebook group. Links are down below. And if you want to learn how to swim this summer, if you want to take it to the next level, check out my website, 7dayswim.co. Sign up for my online course that teaches you how to swim from A to Z. And yeah, that's all there is to it. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.